So I'm going to log into Canvas, and we'll look at what's on Canvas.
Can you pop screens down?
It's coming. It's heating up. It has to heat. And that big thing in the middle of the room humming, I don't know why they changed that, but it's humming now. It wasn't humming at the beginning of the semester, was it? I understand. I can only say it to them. I'm not in charge. The biggest problem is that you know, the builders of this building have, I don't know. I will point that out to the powers to be. Okay, again, we're on Canvas here. We're in the Illustrator class here. And we scroll on down, scroll on down. So if, I did get some recordings last week. This is the one from February 8th. So again, I haven't got the review. I was away. I was in Joshua Tree National Park for 4 days, no computer. Just hiked through. I didn't see. I saw a lizard with its tail off, but that was it. It was raining like crazy, though. Imagine going to the desert and it rained. But hey, it made fish. It was good. But so if you put a vector illustration for your thing in there, I can review that. And a pattern one if I haven't reviewed that for you yet. And then you should draw your duck and then an animal, right? Those are all the things. Okay, so I will look at those by this weekend. And so when you come in Monday, I will have a comment for you, okay? So again, we're going to start beginning drawing fruit here. I know it says September 21st. Disregard that. I didn't change the date from last fall, but that's okay. I'm sure you can figure out it is week 4, and it is no February something. We have some videos that you can review here. We will talk about drawing a landscape, not today. We'll probably have to push it off till next week. But I really want to start with the fruit today because I think it's important for you to learn. So if we click on that, it will take you to some reading about fruit. There's some older videos, but again, I'm recording right now. We have new videos, but you can watch the older ones and newer ones, either ones you want to watch. But again, the tool is called the Gradient Mesh. There should be a link that goes there, but of course my links have been a little wacky lately. Let me fix that. See if I can fix that. Somehow, if you don't double link it, oh, there, it's not showing that there is a link there. This is basically to the help menu. Shit. I'll find the link and relink that for you. It's to the some reading from the Adobe site. I mean, it sees it as a link. It's just not doing it. And then, so there's some videos. Oh, here's some more about the gradient mesh. This
Hello,
guy,
my name is Kerry White.
that's a
Thank
good
you
one.
for stopping by.
That's a good one. This is just plain gradient. This is plain gradient. Now you can mix gradients in gradient mesh. You're not stuck. So there's a video on that. And then here's a video on gradient mesh. It's not my video, but oh, they changed it. Okay. Adobe likes to change things on me. Here's some samples. We'll draw a banana. It looks like that. Okay, so here's a sample. The key to keep in mind is, having a shadow underneath. You'll see we have some dark areas. Notice how you have that kind of light area here, and so you can see that you can blend from color to color to get you realistic looking things. So we'll draw a banana. And see the little green over here? It's very subtle green to yellow. So the gradient mesh gives you this ability to blend colors very I don't want to say the word good, but then we'll do a lot of textures. You'll see this piece of fruit. Again, the little highlights like this. We're going to kind of do it like the clouds. Remember how we drew a shape and then blurred it a little bit? So we'll blur it a little bit, and addition, the blending mode will help it also. So we're going to combine a little bit about blurring and blending. So there's a lot of little things you can do to get your little highlights, okay, and then texture. See the little dots and everything on there? Okay, that'll be using the blending modes. And then, oh, there's no other ones. Okay. And then for your assignment, I want you to create at least 2 pieces of 2 different fruits and put them together into some kind of composition with some other samples from previous classes. I don't. Of course, if you haven't seen fruit drawings before, there's some fruit drawings here. I don't know why. Oh, this is the De Young Museum. There's fruit. Fruit goes back in time. I think, you know, if you think about it, the reason why I link up museums here is because most art museums, if you think about still lifes and fruit drawings, have been done for centuries. You know, especially in the 1800s, they would do a still life. Fruit looks realistic. So you can look at that. To get started, I'm going to go and steal from the internet. Now, you can take your own picture, which would be good too if you want. But you can go steal from the internet. I'm going to go to Google, and we're going to start with a pear. So I'm going to type in pear. Pears are a good starting point. And I'm going to look for images. And then this one's always good here. It has a water droplet on it. This one's quite nice too. Let's see. Okay, this is a quite nice one. So again, if you want to make something that looks like this in Illustrator, the gradient mesh is the prime tool to do that. Okay. So I'm going to either copy. You can copy directly from here and paste into Illustrator, or you can download. And so I'm going to actually download. And I think last class we downloaded something and we imported it. And I was kind of telling you maybe it would be a linked file, but it actually embedded it. So they've actually altered that a little bit, I think. Or you can copy and paste directly from the internet if you would like. Again, to download an image, you can right-click, save image as, and it will save it onto your computer wherever you want. I'm going to throw it on the desktop. Okay, so I right-clicked and downloaded. And then I'm going to open Illustrator. And so, in this case, inside of Illustrator, I'm going to start with a new file. And I'm not going to worry about size right now. One of the things we'll do is we'll actually draw two fruits separately, and then we'll put them together in one document. So you don't have to draw everything in one document. We need to learn how to draw things in separate documents and put them together. So we'll draw, you know, a pear in one, a couple blueberries in another one, maybe a banana, some strawberries. We'll put them all together in one document. So you can do individual things. If you're going to print or out, see right here, here's the color mode. You got your CMYK as well as RGB. Both of these are for, if I'm going to do something for the computer screen, I usually draw in RGB. If I'm going to do something that's going to be printed in a color printer, I would choose CMYK. I've ordered a color printer for the room. It'll be very nice, and we'll be able to try it. It should be here soon. It's kind of a larger format. It'll do 11 by 17 pieces of paper, so it'll be kind of a little bit larger, not just 8.5 by 11. I want it a little bit bigger. So it should be here soon, and we'll be able to try it hopefully as soon as it gets here. Okay. I'm going to reset all my windows because they're kind of messy right now. If you remember how to reset all your windows, if you go underneath Window, Workspace, you can say Reset, and I tend to use just Essentials. There's all these different options you see here for ways to kind of organize the tools in a way that you might use them. I kind of just use the Essentials as like the default. So if I say Reset Essentials, boom, everything kind of goes back to if I just installed Illustrator for the first time. Okay, and I'm going to close this libraries. Adobe tends to put things that they want you to use up front. There's a thing called libraries that was out here earlier. Where's libraries? Maybe this was it. No. Yeah, here it is, libraries. You know, since, you know, they're trying to sell some stock stuff to you, right? So you notice when I went to Essentials, this was on the screen automatically. They're trying to push you to do things, right? So we don't need that right now. To put my pear in, I'm going to go underneath File, Place, File, Place. And if I say File, Place, it'll actually go to, of course, my desktop. And I can grab my pear, and I can say Place, and it'll give me a box, and I can draw my pear on my screen to get started. Okay, so that's one way how you can do it. In addition, before you start drawing on your object, you might want to be able to suck up the colors. Do you remember doing that? I think we did that in last week's example, where we used the eyedropper and we sucked up the colors. So I'll do that again. If you remember last week, we actually went over how to use the eyedropper to make ourselves a little color palette. To make a color palette, I use the color option, which is this one right here, swatches, or you can go under window swatches, and it'll pop up the swatches window. In the swatches window, I can drag it out, I can make it a little bit bigger, and if you remember from last class, we actually made a little folder, I believe. We made a new color group. It was called color group right here. And it asked us to give it a name. We can give it a name. This would be my pear group. And then, so it makes a little folder right here. See how it has like a little folder? And then I can use the eyedropper right here. And I'm going to make sure it's using fill here. I'm going to use the eyedropper and I can suck up some of the green and drag it in there. Suck up some of the green, drag it in there. Suck up some of the green, drag it in there. Suck up some dark colors, drag it in there. Suck up some light colors maybe, drag it in there. Some medium color, drag it in there. Maybe some of the wood color that I got, or the stem color there, drag it in there. Maybe a couple more stem colors up there, drag it in there. Maybe the green from the leaf, drag it in there. Maybe another green from the leaf, drag it in there. And so you can actually use the eyedropper to select some of the colors before you start drawing. So see if you can make that happen. I'll pause. So again, I'm going to move my pear out of the way just for now so we can practice first. So let's move it over there. I'm just going to move it out of the way. And let's just draw a rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle. So move your pear out of the way, just drag it over there and draw a rectangle. Okay, so we want to learn how the gradient mesh works. Okay, so just draw a rectangle. Rectangle is fine. And to put a gradient mesh in my rectangle, there is a tool. It's this one right here. It looks like a bunch of lines in a box. If you count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 down the left side, I'm going to click on that tool. I'm going to come over to my object, and I'm going to kind of click up here in the upper left corner somewhere of my rectangle and lift my mouse up. Notice it puts a line in there. Lines kind of shoot out. And you didn't see anything happen. The reason why is because the dot that I just put in there is the same color as the background. So if you go and change the color now, you can choose it any other color. I'm just going to use yellow for now. You'll notice you'll start getting a gradient. So notice how this one's blue. And if I go and change the color now, you'll see this is where yellow is. And then this is green over here because it was the originally green, right? And then this is green here, and this is green there, and that's green there. So I can go. Now when you're using the gradient mesh, you might want to, when you're done making a mesh, you might want to go to the white arrow or direct selection and select the points to change the color. Because if you're using this tool to change the colors, what's going to happen is you might actually make an extra dot that you didn't want. So if I go and use the white arrow now, and I say, okay, I want to change the color of this one up here, this dot right here. See the anchor point right here? If I click on that, I can then go and change the color of that. How about purple? There we go, look at that. And maybe change the color of this dot over here. Let's make that orange. Wow, look at that, look at that. In addition, you can actually move the dots around. I can click on this dot right here, and I can move it, and you can adjust colors that way. In addition, you have, remember when we were making anchor points and they have directional arms? You have directional arms that can be used to manipulate the gradient as well. Look at that. You can almost see how we're going to make the banana. See that? We want to make the banana like this, so the gradient goes like that. You see that? So click on the dots, use the white, again, the white selection tool. Use that, and you can move them around. Be careful if your line starts to get bent like this. Look what happens. You get this kind of really harsh kind of. That's because this is out too far here. So just be aware of that. Then you got directional arms to adjust how the gradient is. And then if you want to put another color in, another gradient mesh, I tend to put it on a current line so it doesn't make too many. Watch what I mean. If I want to put another dot, another color in here, if I use the gradient mesh tool and I click right here, what's going to happen? Boom, it makes a dot here, makes a dot there, makes a dot there, makes a dot there, makes a dot there. Whoosh, I'm getting too many dots. If I hit undo there, I'm going to undo that. A better way of using a gradient mesh might be to click actually on a line. So if you notice you want another dot here, actually click on the line itself right here, and it'll actually put, now I don't have as many dots being generated, and there's less dots for me to deal with. Okay, so if you click, again, go back to the white arrow to move things around. If you click along an existing line, it might make it better and give you less dots and make it easier for you to blend colors together. So think about that. Because you're going to get a lot of lines in there, you're going to have a lot of dots, and you're going to be like, oh, let's delete this. Uh-oh, did you notice what happened? I just deleted a dot. You can actually delete the dots that are in there. Again, I only had a dot selected, and you can delete a dot if you want. Hey, it went all the way back to my green box. Okay, so you can actually click on the dots and remove them. You can also use the delete anchor point tool to delete them as well. That's this one, the minus with the pen tool. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this pair. I'm going to duplicate it. So again, I have one pair, a picture of a pair here. I'm going to hold down the Option key on the keyboard, and I'm going to see I have the black arrow, Option key on the keyboard. If I click and drag with the left mouse, it will duplicate that pair. And so I have two of them. Because remember, once you start drawing over top of this one, you're not going to be able to see it. It'll be underneath an object, right? So at least I have a reference over there, as well as I can go and start sucking up the colors with the eyedropper again as well. Okay, so you know what tool I'm going to use to make the pear shape, don't you? The pen tool. If you're struggling with the pen tool, just use the pencil tool if you must. This one. You can use the pencil if you must. Again, if I was going to use the pencil, I would just go all the way around the outside. Yep, there we go. Uh-oh, why didn't it show up? Nothing's showing up. What is happening? It's there. I just can't see it.
Maybe on a different layer.
It's no fill and no stroke. That's why. I had no fill and no stroke on. See, but that's not very precise. So again, I'm going to choose a green. I'm going to use my pen tool, much better tool to use. I can click, click. Remember, try and use the least amount of dots you can. Click, click, click. Click, 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 and then maybe adjust a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. If it's not perfect, it's okay. Right? Right? So see if you can get yourself a shape. So I know I made this wonderful palette here, but even without using the palette, what I could do is use my selection tool, select my pear shape, use my eyedropper, and suck up a color. And usually with the gradient mesh, I try to find a middle color. You know what? You know, not the dark colors, not the light colors, but a middle color. Now, as I'm going to put a gradient mesh in here to give it my effect that I want, I'm going to think about it a little bit and try and make some decisions. How the gradient mesh works is, again, by drawing lines out. And so if I was going to, you notice I have these highlights here. It's kind of bright here in this area here. And then it's kind of, move this over, and let me move this over just a little bit here. Oh, just drew all kinds of shapes, didn't I? Move this over a little bit. So again, I have some bright colors here, and I have maybe some darker ones here. I'm going to exaggerate a little bit. So I'm going to click on my shape. I'm going to use my gradient mesh tool, and I'm going to kind of, you see where the highlight is right here? I'm going to kind of click somewhere about there for my first color. Once I'm done clicking, I'm going to go to my eyedropper and actually suck up the color there. Now I know it's in my swatches over here. I know it's there. I could use that one too, right there. Either way, you notice after I clicked my gradient mesh, I used the eyedropper and I sucked up the color. Now I'm going to make a little bit darker down here. I'm going to exaggerate this. This doesn't have a lot of dark areas in it, but it does have some. I'm going to go all the way down here. I'm going to click with the gradient mesh, and I'm going to go and choose a darker color. Oop, that's a little bit too dark. Maybe use my eyedropper. Chuck up a little bit darker. There we go. That's a little better. And then I'm going to start adjusting my colors. Oh, one more. I'm going to do one more gradient mesh. I'm going to do one up here towards the top right here, and I might do another bright one up here. Now that's dark. I don't want that. Oh, well, you can use the eyedropper again and maybe suck up the light color. Oh, there we go. That looks a lot better. And so just subtle. And then after you got a kind of a base, like we have kind of a base, I would use the white selection tool to move things around. Remember, I'm going to move this a little bit to give it a little bit more roundy action there, a little rounder. See how I can move it around? Maybe click this one way down here, the one that's all the way at the bottom there, and make that really dark, like a dark, ooh, not that dark. Maybe there we go, kind of a dark green. Ooh, that's too green, too green. Maybe a little, oh, I want it dark, but not so green. Maybe some, there we go. Something like that. And then the edge over here I might make, well, it's a little bright over there from a reflection, but I might make that a little bit darker too. A little bit darker. And in fact, you can actually suck up colors from inside here if you want. Notice how if I click on my anchor point here, I'm clicking on my anchor point, I can use the eyedropper tool and I can actually come over on my mesh itself and suck up a color from there. Did you see that? Again, I can use my dot. I'm going to select the dot and say, okay, I want the kind of dark green that's over here. I can use the eyedropper and actually suck up a color from over here. See that? Again, I can use that, and I'm going to put a kind of a dark one here as well, and I'm going to go over here, and so I'm kind of exaggerating it a little bit, but if I click off, I can see I got a nice looking pair already. I don't expect to do it perfect the first time. It takes time. You got something going on there. You didn't finish. Why don't you continue? You haven't. No. You should finish this. Pen tool. Yeah. And click on it. No, click on that. Click. No. No. Click on the dot. No, on the dot. You click. Yeah. Then continue. Go up here. No, don't drag. Don't drag. Don't drag. Click. You can drag and after you. Okay. That's okay. It's too late. No, don't. You gotta get. There, I'll show you. Let me use your mouse. Here, let's start. So if I'm going to start again here, I can click there, okay, and I'm going to click and hold the mouse down to give me the curves like that. And then if I want this curve here, just like click the curve there. And I'll go back to the beginning. Okay, so you're just going to have to practice like this. Go back to the beginning. We have
going to rain all day Saturday. And then that'll be the tool you should be using on Saturday.
I saved the scratch for this one and it's lost now. I saved it.
Why don't you just duplicate like I did? The tool we're using is this one right here. You should duplicate your thing so you can use the colors. Use the black arrow. And then here, let me pause my video for a minute. I'll be right back. Dead space here.
Okay, to add textures, how I do it is by using effects. The effects are over here. You'll see there's a whole bunch of effects here. Okay, so I'm going to apply. And the one I'm going to apply is most likely underneath noise, which is underneath, which one? Pixelate. Pixelate is good. That gives you some dots too. Texture, grain is a good one. Okay, so here's how I'm going to do it though, is I'm going to duplicate this shape by clicking on it and holding a which key down? Option, right? I'm going to option, click and drag. So I have two of the exact same things. Two of the exact same things. Then I'm going to go underneath effects and I'm going to go to where it says stylize, or not stylize, what was it? Texture, and then grain, that'll give it dots. Grain gives it dots. So I'm going to give it some dots, and you'll notice it kind of, if you zoom in, it might be zoomed in. I'm going to zoom out. You can start seeing the dots coming up. You can see them here. You might increase. I'm going to exaggerate the dots a little bit and add some contrast maybe. So I'm exaggerating. Don't worry, I know it looks kind of rough. Again, the key here is we're going to blend them together. So I'm going to exaggerate, and you might want to change the type of dots. There's a whole bunch of different types of dots here. Try them. They're little, ooh, that one's clumpy. Ooh, that one's pretty good. I'm going to go with the enlarged. So get to that point. I'll do it again for you. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to duplicate, option, click and drag, duplicate. And then to add the dots, I'm using an effect. Again, the effect is underneath effects. The one I'm using is texturize, and the one I'm using is grain. Another good one to try might be texturize. That one adds a lot of dots too, and some of that. But grain and texturize are good ones for dots. If I hit texturize is good, and stained glass is good for fruit, for oranges, because it gives these really big clumpy things. So I'm going to use grain. Again, the one I usually mess with the intensity. I want it to be very grainy. Very grainy. You can zoom out if you want in this window. Command minus zooms out. So I really increase the intensity and increase the contrast. Don't worry, we're going to blend it together, so it's not going to look it's not going to look quite like this. Once you blend it, it merges them together so that they work. And then again, the one I was using might be what was it? Clumpy? No. Ooh, that's not too bad. Not clumpy. Contrast. No. Enlarged. Oh yeah, enlarged wasn't bad. Stipple. Horizontal. Ooh, definitely not that. Oh, definitely not that. Speckle. That didn't work. Okay, I'm going to use enlarge. There we go. So I'm going to kind of exaggerate it here with some dots here. Then when I'm done, I'm going to hit OK, and you'll see it looks kind of like texture, but it doesn't look very good. So if you want it to look better, if that's a word, better, is I can put it right over top of my other one. I'm going to put it right over top of my other one, and then I'm going to blend these two together. How I blend them together is by using a blending mode, which is located under transparency, which I wrote on the board. Transparency. And under transparency, there's an option right here. It says normal, and I'm going to use blending mode. Now, depending upon which one you choose, it'll blend a different way. They each do something a little bit different. Screen is always a good one. That one's probably the best one right there, where it gives you subtle texture but not too much texture. Overlay, maybe. And if it's too much and too exaggerated, you can turn the opacity down. So again, you got opacity, and ooh, that one's not too bad. Soft light. There we go. So you get a subtle texture. You can see it if you zoom in, but if you zoom out, it's not quite as dotty as that. If you really wanted the dots like that, you could add a pattern of some kind, maybe. That one's not too bad. You get a little texture. It's better than plain gradient. You give yourself a little texture. Again, there's two of them over top of each other. The top one has a gradient with a blending mode, as well as some opacity there. The screen one seemed to work well. You can see you get a little texture in there. Okay, see if you can try that. Okay, so now I can't see where the stem goes into the object, can I? No. So let's do some adjustments. I'm going to go underneath the layers window. Layers window. Under layers, you can see you have multiple layers. If you don't see layers, you can always find layers by going under window, layers, and it should pop up the layer window. Right now I have 2 images, and then I have 2 meshes. I'm going to turn the meshes off. And I'm going to first make a base for the stem to go in. So in order to make the base where the stem goes in, I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to make a shape, kind of like this ugly shape that you see up here where the stem goes in. Going in there, a little shape up here, I don't know, make a shape. And I'm going to make that shape a little bit dark. Or you can use your swatches. And then I'm going to blur that by going underneath Effects, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to blur that a little bit. In addition, I'm going to use some of the transparency and maybe turn the opacity down. There we go, something like that. Now you can't really see it because you got the background there, but if I go and I turn my shapes on and then turn that off, you can see it gives me a little dark area for my stem to stick in. Okay, how did I make this dark area? It's just a shape using the pen tool. I made it dark with a dark color. Then I blurred it just like we did with the clouds. Under Effects, Blur, Gaussian Blur, that's what I did to make it kind of soft. Then I went and added a little opacity to it so it blends a little bit with the one underneath it. I might have done a little bit too much opacity. I want it to be kind of dark. There we go. Something like that. Okay, so that's an area for the stem to go in. I can hide those too. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to hide those. And now I'm going to draw my stem shape by using the pen tool. And I'm going to draw my stem shape. And then if that stem is doesn't look very good, you might want to put a gradient mesh on there. And so for my stem, I will use a gradient mesh, and I'm going to click kind of right in the middle here, one up here, and maybe one towards the bottom down here, and then maybe add some lighter colors for that. That looks a little better. Maybe even put a little bit of dark, a little bit of black. If I zoom in real close there, it looks like there's like a little bit of really dark area there. I might even put that in there a little. I don't want it to be so harsh in there. Maybe put a little black in there. Black. Blur that a little bit. So you notice I'm just putting little shapes and blurring them. Oh, that's a little bit too much blur. So a little blur action there. And if I turn my shapes back on, you can see what I got. It should be a little bit subtle, maybe a little bit of opacity on that. I just don't want the stem kind of sticking in there, looking like it's thrown. There we go. I don't know. Maybe black is probably not the best color for that. Brown or brown. There we go. There we go. That looks a little better. And of course, my leaf shape is a little bit hard to do probably, but I'm going to use my pen tool and go around for my leaf. So I can go around for my leaf and maybe even give it a gradient mesh for that. Kind of click right in the middle. Oof, that's not what I wanted. How about here? No, that's not going to work. Nah, gradient mesh is not going to work on this at all. Well, how about we cheat and I could use my pencil tool and let me just fake some lines in there using the pencil tool. There we go. That's a leaf all right there. And this is kind of dark. Maybe give that a no, not that. There we go. And that's a little dark. Maybe I will get a gradient mesh. Let's try it anyways. No, that looks like crap. Whatever. And then, oh, there's one little piece there that needs a little bit of color. And maybe, oops, I didn't want to do that. Why did you add to me? Did you really need to do that to me? Okay, almost done here. Let me add this little shape here. Maybe put a gradient mesh in there. There we go. And then this. And then put my line in there. Then if you select all these lines that are in here, you can even blur them a little bit so they don't look like they are so harsh. You know, use that blend, the blur, use the blur as a great way of making objects blend together. So if I select all the lines that are in my leaf here and I go to my blur, I just blur it just a little bit. And if you see, if I blur it a little bit, they blend a lot better. And so when I'm all done, I can turn all my shapes back on. Turn all my shapes back on. And turn off my image. And I have my complete pear. It looks beautiful. It's an A+. And This could probably use some texture. But think of blurring objects so that they look like they blend. And I can save my pair as a Illustrator file so that I can add it to another Illustrator file. The best way to add one file to another file is to make sure that they're in Illustrator format. They go well together. In fact, the swatch can come over. Like if I save this as an Illustrator file and then I go and draw another piece of fruit and I import this Illustrator file into the other one, the actual colors that I use will actually come over as well. So again, to save as Illustrator, I might delete my image before I save. Might delete my images, so you can get rid of these images. You're done with them. So I usually get rid of them so they don't cause any problems. And then I would save as a Illustrator file. And it'll be ready to go. Okay. So you'll enjoy. See if I can draw a water droplet. Let me see. I'm going to use a ellipse. Let's say you want an ellipse. Maybe rotate that a little bit. Let's give it a color. Let me zoom in. And the effect, let's see, I want to use the neon glow. May work. No. Why? It didn't work at all. Ocean ripple. That might work. Has some contrast. Plastic wrap. Ooh, there we go. Plastic wrap. Rough pastel, no. Poster, no. 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 Plastic wrap might work. And then blend that using a blending mode probably. Let's see. Blending mode. Under transparency. Transparency. And let's see. Screen. Oosh, definitely not that. Lighten. No, not too bad. Overlay. Never gonna work. Hard light. Possibly. Turn down some of that. It needs more contrast. You would have to duplicate it. And then make it dark. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Nope, not quite right. I'll have to think about it. I'm sure we could figure out how to make a water droplet. And I may blur it. Blur. I don't know, water droplet has contrast, so you want to have something that has some kind of contrast to it. And usually it has contrast only on one side. Don't know.